a team who continue to struggle, much like Kaizer Chiefs, Manchester United. A 16th loss in the league, the most in 35 years. 35 years, the most in 35 years. Manchester United lost again, and I think they're down there around the 14th, 15th mark after a 4-3 loss to Brentford. And after the match, the coach, Ruben Amorim, of course, in light of Manchester United looking odds-on to make the Europa final, and if they win that, get into the Champions League via that avenue, said that he does not believe Manchester United can handle being in the Champions League and the Premier League at the same time. So, is it better for United to not be in the Champions League and focus on rebuilding through the league? Or do they somehow find a way to handle both Champions League and the league if they do win the Europa?
I don't care what Ruben Amorim says. We are Manchester United. What do you mean we can't handle both? This is what we were built for. This is who we are. We're supposed to be handling both. I mean, it's crazy that we're doing so well in the Europa League. We're the only team in the if you consider Champions League and Europa League, unbeaten at this stage. We've not lost any match. At worst, we've drawn games. I don't know how that contrasts with us being so poor in the league. I don't know how that happens, right? Because somehow we flip on the switch when we go to Thursday nights and we're decent. But that's a worrying sign, or worrying statement, because what are we doing then? Because we win the title and we're going there. You're telling us we're going to struggle because, I mean, yeah, they are called the so-called top 5 leagues in Europe. Portugal's not that strong, but what he was able to do with Sporting is great, right? And obviously he's built a team, but he's taken a team from an inferior league and was able to shake things up. So you're telling me that if we get Champions League money, but the players that we have, and we say sign 2 or 3 players, we won't compete. That's what you're there for, right? That's what you're there for, to ensure that we compete on 2 fronts. Sacrifice the Carabao Cup if you have to, play the kids. Sacrifice the FA Cup if you have to, but we can't be struggling to keep our eyes on 2 competitions. All we have to do in this new format, Jay, we can finish 15th, and we'll be fine. We'll play knockout rounds. It can't be so hard to keep your eye on the ball. And if anything, Jay, in this campaign, if we've got silverware, I can settle for 7th. I'm happy with 7th. As long as we're not 15th, 14th, I'll call that progress. If we're in the Champions League, we get to the knockout phases, and we're finishing 7th, and we understood that we've prioritized those particular competitions, I can live with that. But those words are not encouraging for me, Jay, because if you're the manager and you're supposed to be getting us better, and instead in this campaign, you've gone, you can say he's worse than Ten Hag. Definitely have been, because Ten Hag was bad, but he was never on this run. You're telling us that next year will be more of the same. I can't live with that. Okay, it might not be more of the same, but you're telling us that we're going to go out early somewhere. At some point, by the time we hit December, we're either going to be out of contention in Europe, or we're not going to be in any way, shape, or form eligible for top 4. I can't have that, because you would have had a preseason, you would have had signings, you would have had time together with this team. Tell me what you've learned with this team. Tell me what you've gathered. Tell me what you've improved with this team. You can't tell me that next year it's better, because we didn't sign you for that. We didn't get you and interrupt the project. That was Dean Ashworth lost his job because he picked the wrong guy. Now that we've got the right guy, we can't hear that from you. So Jay, I am piggies. I mean, I don't accept that. It's not a statement that I'm willing to ride with. It might be factual because he's with the boys in training, but we have to do better than that.
Sober musings from the coach of Manchester United. Sober words from Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim spoke the gospel, spoke the truth there. Manchester United will not be able to handle the Champions League and the league. And you know what? The only benefit, 2 benefits. The only 2 benefits for winning the Europa for Manchester United is, number 1, they add another trophy to the cabinet, which is what we play for. That's the reason we start seasons, is to be there when it's champagne season and you are lifting the trophy. Secondly, is that they get Champions League money by getting into the Champions League, but I don't think it's going to improve Manchester United, particularly in the league. And I think he's speaking in light of the league, right? Because you consider the fact that Manchester United are about to finish, as I'm saying, in 14th or 15th, somewhere there. Do you realize, like I came across the stat, that if you remove the results Manchester United accumulated against the 3 teams that have already been relegated, they would sit 17th with 29 points. Meaning that outside of the teams that are going down through relegation, against everybody else, Manchester United are the worst of the rest. So
that doesn't mean much.
the turnaround into next season, even if he buys players, I'm curious to see, number one, who is he gonna buy? And you speak about Champions League money, and I just mentioned the Champions League money as well. And I think you spoke about it in light of you'll be able to make signings with that money. Did you not hear Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying that we were about to run out of money? That money is not going to go to players, Chuck. That money needs to service Manchester United and whatever financial downturn that they find themselves in, that has people needing to bring lunch boxes to work, and where the fans need to absorb the debts by ticket prices being raised. So when the Champions League money drops, that's not going to be, here's a blank check, or here's a war chest. That's going to be, oh, thank goodness we're able to keep the lights on for another 3 months.
But the route to the Champions League means that winning the Europa, there's some prize money, so especially prize money, Europa League.
Chuck.
And then going into the Champions League, we're making signings. We're also selling players like Rashford who are going to bring down the wage bill, and therefore we can afford other players and make space.
What players are you going to be able to afford? Because my history with Manchester United of late particularly is that it's not that Manchester United have not been signing players. They've been signing players.
Now we've got a plan.
When players arrive there, it's why did you sign this guy?
Now we've got Omar Barada, we've got directors of football. We're fixing what we were before. We're changing. That's why I can't accept Ruben Amorim's statement, because we signed Mazraoui, who I think looks decent. We signed De Ligt, who he's all right. I don't think he's a liability, but he's all right. He's a squad player.
De Ligt is injured now, right? Which is another issue.
We've got Ogate. Ogate is improved us, right? And they still managed to buy more players. There are players who may yet come back. As far as if Anthony will be the Anthony of Real Betis, we don't know.
It does not matter that Manchester United buy players.
Hey man, what I'm trying to say is that we're not the old Man United. We're changing our ways. We're buying better players. We're looking.
Wait. No, which old Man United?
Yeah, the one that we were spending 90s on Pogba's and Harry Maguire's and money's on Anthony. World record fees. We're not that anymore. We're trying to look for the smart buy.
Do you really believe this?
Yeah, because we don't, like Jim said. You said we can't afford those guys. Number one. Number two, those players. If you buy someone from, say, Parigi from Espanyol, it's not that much pressure. Sorry, versus buying Pogba at his pomp at Juve. It's like, okay, now deliver. If we're building a project and we take it step by step, then I don't think, number one.
The man who's building the project does not believe it's going to get there next season.
I reject those statements, because Newcastle look good, but I don't know if they're going to still be where they are. Forest, are they going to replicate? I mean, if anything, right, Leicester survived relegation, went on to win it. If we win a cup before the end of the season, why can't we bounce on that and then become decent? All I'm asking for is to be decent. To finish top 4 is what I'm saying. Yeah, we can't contend. We're not. Liverpool can get better. We're not there. We're not at Arsenal. We're not at City. That much I can swallow. I'm happy. But you tell me we're going to be 15th again.
I am telling you that. And
no, Jay, that's nonsense.
Because
which teams are replicating their form?
Because this is what this coach is telling you. Here's the thing, right, Chuck? Unless you are a real elite team, playing Champions League has an adverse effect on Premier League teams, and that is from recent history. Number one, when Arsenal suddenly, seemingly out of the blue, were challenging Manchester City the first go around, which when they choked away that title opportunity. That's because Arsenal did not have Champions League football that season whatsoever, right? They were in Europa, but as you know, in Europa, and under the old format, you just played your second team, like what you play in the Carabao, until you get to the knockout stages, and then they were knocked out in the knockout stages anyway. So a majority of that season, Arsenal only had the Premier League to focus on, and they were fresh on weekends or midweeks, whatever the case may be, to play those matches. Then you've got a Newcastle who qualified for the Champions League. In the season that they were playing Champions League, their form suffered. This season, they've not been playing Champions League. They back up there looking to challenge for top 3. Same thing with Aston Villa. They're in the Champions League this season. They're not flying quite as high as they did last season. Since they've been knocked out of the Champions League as well, their form has improved. So I don't believe in Manchester United, even if they do sign players, Chuck. They're going to have the resources. They're going to be that strong where they can focus on trying to do well in the Champions League and do as well as what you are talking about in terms of maybe making top 4 next season. Maybe not 15th, right? But I do think if they are in the Champions League and they have to spread themselves thin between the two competitions, the Champions League and the Premier League, you're going to see results in the Premier League, which we're gonna have us here every other week talking about the fact that should Ruben Amorim be fired, because I don't think the results will be that good. I think the form is gonna show that you are handling something that is above the capacity of the squad.
Jay, when you look at City and them getting trebles, and Liverpool, if they're not running City close, they win the Champions League themselves, and then not too long after they win the Premier League themselves. Chelsea can nick one here and then come close, and then speak about Arsenal as well, running City all the way close, and look where they are in the Champions League now. I'm saying we're not there, but if we can be a Newcastle where we went deep or got to knockouts but finished fifth, that's fine. You can't tell me that we're not going to do well in the league. I reject that, because what are you doing with this project? Where are we going? Are you telling me you've not made any progress?